a computer. In the beginning, people handpicked what would be trending on Facebook. They curated it. But oh no, that was too biased. So they went ahead and allowed an algorithm to choose. At least that's their story. So this algorithm started promoting fake news articles, ridiculous ones that I don't think had any bearing at all on Trump's election. Not whatsoever. People aren't having that hard of a time discerning an article like Pope Francis shocks the world, endorses Donald Trump for president. Oh, but he didn't. We know that. Anybody who read that probably figured that out pretty quickly, that the Pope did not endorse Donald Trump. But they make it out like everybody is that stupid. That's the problem. Nobody is that stupid. We're not that stupid. And if anything, all it did was teach people that those articles are bullshit, because they would share it and then one of their friends would probably comment, actually, that's not true. Just go ahead and ignore that website from now on. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And that would be it. The end of the conversation. People are not this dumb. It is amazing how the media tries to make us think that everybody is stupid, but they're not anymore. I think everybody woke up. As you can see from this chart here, total Facebook engagements for the top 20 election stories. Oh no, mainstream news went down, 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 down. And what they're calling fake news, you can see on their stupid little chart, goes boing all the way up. So instead of calling it alternative news, they're calling it fake news. And in order to group in alternative news with this fake news, they had to make a bunch of fake news, put it in the forefront, put it where everybody's eyes can see it, try to make it be a problem. Then later on, they probably already knew that they were going to lump together alternative news with the fake news. In one big blanket, roll them all up, try to throw them overboard. But it's just not working. This is the reason people started veering away from the mainstream news. Viewership started going down drastically. They're probably getting no views whatsoever. People on YouTube are getting way more views than the mainstream news networks. So rather than admit that alternative news is rising up, they wanted to label it fake news. So Zuckerberg put out all the fake news articles and used that as the front and the reason for scooping together that bullshit with all the alternative news sources. They're just kicking and screaming on the way out. While we're on the topic of fake news, one YouTuber had mentioned in a video of his that you always hear rumors of the mainstream media networks faking news and this and that, but you never really see any examples. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you some examples of some instances where mainstream news has flat out lied and hoaxed and had to apologize once they got caught, in most cases. So let's take a look at some of these fake news organizations in action. Then I'll go over a few alternative news YouTubers that I suggest. Beginning with this ABC News one. This is the most recent. It just happened a month ago at the beginning of November. And it's just earned me my biggest amount of upvotes I've ever gotten on Reddit today. I don't often post to our conspiracy, but when I do, it's one of these, and they always get a lot of karma points for me, which makes me happy, because I'm always losing them on there from all the stupid shit I say. So in November, ABC News' Good Morning America got caught staging a scene at the location where a crime had allegedly taken place. They strung up their own crime scene tape to their camera tripods, put it behind their reporter, just barely off camera. But lo and behold, somebody saw them and sent out the picture. This is either someone in their crew or just a random passerby. They think they're composing a shot for the television, like they're directors or something. No. Just record what happened. You don't need to put up a fake crime scene tape. You look ridiculous doing that, by the way. They have since taken that video down, but it lives on the internet. Take a look at how the crime scene tape was dancing around behind her while her hair and everything else stayed in perfect, still tranquility. That looks more silly than if you had no crime scene tape there at all. And ironically, it's CNN calling them out. Actually, Fox had an article on this as well. They're all guilty of the same type of shit all the time. So my other two big posts on our conspiracy were coincidentally also about media deception, and I think these pictures pretty much speak for themselves. It's the same thing they do at rallies, at Hillary Clinton's rallies, everybody's rally really. A little group of people on bleachers behind the person just to give the illusion of a huge crowd everywhere. Now, not that Trump needed any type of illusion. They actually refused to show the crowds at his rallies. This next one is pretty low. It's a Fox News station in Colorado. They wanted to find out if people can drive impaired on THC. So they conducted a little rigged test. But one of the participants decided to bring his cell phone to record as much of what he saw to see if it corroborated with the final story that ended up on his local news channel. And wouldn't you know it, they gave a completely different story than what happened. Imagine that.
To their mid-60s, our volunteers let us test not only their driving skills, but their THC levels, both before and after taking their marijuana.
Got it. I guess the reason why I'm telling you this and why I bought this little camera is because for some reason I've got this little funny feeling that Fox is going to edit this footage to a bias that's not going to be truthful for the cannabis community. And just in case, I'm going to try to film everything that they film so that if they do skew the reality of the situation with this driving test, so that we can put the truth and the information out there.
Fox went in with an agenda, and all they did was get the footage they needed to make that story appear true when they put it all together. I do suggest you watch the whole thing. The link is in the description below. Here's a brief rundown of what they did. Fox portrayed to their audience that people like Max think it's okay to get stoned and drive. They did not show his full interview. Yeah, during the interview he's making some very reasonable points, but he's also not advocating driving impaired. I don't know if you can tell what kind of simulator test they had him doing, but you probably guessed it. Yep, he's being made to simulate driving a semi-truck, which he probably never ever done in his life, driven a semi-truck. Yet that's the test they gave him. It's actually taken at a driving school for truck drivers, but they completely omit that in the final Fox News report. Not only that, but Fox rigged up the program to crash on purpose. No matter how good Max drove, it would always eventually crash, or someone would crash into him and he would lose. He would fail the test. It was a cameraman who told Max off camera that Fox had tampered with the software. He had the right of way and they still made him crash. And then they put out a survey on their website. And this was right around the time when Colorado was going to vote whether or not to legalize marijuana. The poll was asking which is more dangerous, driving drunk, driving high, or are both equally dangerous. As you can see, the majority of the answers, 83%, said driving drunk is way more dangerous than driving high. 83%. With the common knowledge, once those results started to come in, they took down the poll. It didn't fit their bias. It didn't fit their narrative. This next one is the shadiest of them all. This was Dateline NBC, which was a 60-minute program, November 1992. Did a complete falsified, just evil hit piece on General Motors regarding a truck line of theirs that they had that allegedly was bursting into flames. So NBC went so far out of their way to make that happen on camera during their little test, and it backfired on them bigly. This was during a crash test that they were doing. They rigged the truck's fuel tank with remotely controlled model rocket engines to initiate the explosion. They overfilled the gas tank. They used the wrong type of gas cap. They lied about how fast they were going. They said they were going 30, but they were actually going 40. GM had to track down those charred up vehicles. They sent investigators all over this town, I think it was in Indiana, to find the charred remains of the vehicles that were used in the crash test. Well, they found them. And what they found was they x-rayed it, and the fuel tank was not ruptured whatsoever. Needless to say, GM filed a lawsuit, and in February of 1993, that lawsuit was settled. And that same week, a reporter read a 3.5-minute on-air apology to the viewers. 3 Dateline NBC producers were dismissed as a result of this whole scandal. Scandals. That's the worst one. That's evil. Again, who pays you to have such a vendetta against GM? Maybe Ford had something to do with it? Ford Motors or some other motor company? I just don't see where the dedication to screwing over a company like that comes from. then there's a couple other ones I've mentioned in a couple of different videos. During the Ebola fake hype that was going on a year or two ago, I forget now, CNN was caught. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they obviously had paid actors over there in Libya or wherever the hell it was. This little boy waltzes over in front of the cameras, lays down like he's dead, as though on cue. It was on cue. He laid down for the camera to act like he was sick. And this other idiot falling out of the fucking ambulance like a retard. Terrible, terrible acting. It's just bad. During Sandy Hook, the same day of the Sandy Hook shooting, these cops were filmed by a news helicopter running towards a building. Well, where were they running to? They weren't running towards Sandy Hook Elementary because that had already taken place by the time everybody got there. Everybody was already shot. No, you can tell by the layout of the parking lot that that's not Sandy Hook Elementary that they're running towards. They're running towards a different elementary school in a different part of that town. And that was all for the news helicopters, just for show. And this has nothing to do with all the other Sandy Hook hoax conspiracy theories that are out there. This is a legitimate, 100% provable, and they did that. Dinosaur media forgets that we're in a modern day and age. We have Google Maps. We've got people online that have nothing better to do than pick apart what you're posting and find out everything that's bullshit about it. You really gotta be smarter, and you gotta keep up with the times. And this is why they're dying. This is why the mainstream media is being read its final rights right now.
Are you struggling with joint pain or arthritis? If so, you're going to want to stick around to hear what we've got to share with you. Hi, I'm Tiffany Harlick, co-author of the Live Pain-Free Cookbook with Jesse Canone. Did you know that there are certain healthy foods, including a vegetable, that will actually ramp up inflammation in your body?
Oh yeah, I did save the funniest one for last. It's hilarious. This one in Utah. This one was a story where